Have you ever had one of those days where you just can't wake up? That was me today. Yes, I fully admit. Have you ever had one of those days where you just can't wake up? I fully admit I'm complicit in my own tardiness today. Thanks for being here. It is the Astro Weather, and let me get situated amongst the ever-changing sky. Yeah, it's cold here now. We have a bit of a cold snap. And when it's cold, people tend to want to sleep in, right? That's usually what happens. It's like, no, I don't want to get up today. It's nice and cozy here. Let me hit the snooze. And next time this thing happens, I'll be up and at 'em. Yeah, right. So that was me this morning. And I apologize for being late, but hey, we're here and we are doing the Astro Weather. So thanks for being here. And let's get into it, as they say. Let's get into it. I have an interesting start of the day, by the way. It's funny, last night I was going through all the candidates, and there were some interesting candidates. Like Andrew Jackson is interesting, but the time in his chart is not clear, right? So they have these ratings with charts. You've got the double A, the A, I think it goes to C, and then double D, whatever that is. And then there's X. I have absolutely no birth time. And usually when I do a chart, I try not to go any lower than C. Of course, double A is the best. So I think Andrew Jackson had a double D rating. And I was like, I can't use it. Today is Ruth Bader Ginsburg's birthday, but again, there's no set time, no clear time. And I probably would have talked about her. But the key is we got to have the time. So I completely overlooked today's start of the day because I wasn't paying attention last night. And then it kind of jumped out at me today, a little bit different, but I think you'll enjoy it. In the meantime, what in the hell is going on in our inner and outer world? So I like to start with the moon, of course. Oh, by the way, shout out to Mi Madre. Happy birthday, Mi Madre. I almost thought about doing her chart for the start of the day. So you could see what Pluto and Cancer and the ascendant looks like. And somebody who is, man, tough as nails, I'm telling you. At death's door and now determined. She's got the determination of like a cage fighter now to get back on her feet and get back in her life. Anyway, here we go. The moon in Capricorn. It's just entered into Capricorn. And we know all about the Capricorn moon. It is cool. It is dispassionate. It does not suffer fools gladly, right? Capricorn moon is all about efficiency. It's about efficiency and making wise decisions and wise choices that aren't based on frivolous emotion. And so we have this cool, austere moon coming in. And at the beginning of the day, it's in square. But by the time we get into later today and tomorrow, that moon is gonna phase shift, and it'll be in more of a sextile than the square energy today, at least right now. So delaying gratification and delaying your ability, it's not even an ability, the tendency to dip into emotional distress. if you can just chill out, hold out a little bit today, right? Hold your ground. Don't make any emotional decisions today. By the time the moon gets into later tonight and early tomorrow, when it moves into sextile, things flow much better, much better. Right? There's a temptation here early in the day with the Capricorn moon to just kind of give in, right? Oh, I'll give in. All right, I'll do that for you. I would say really think twice about that. Because early in the day, this is a position of compromise. And if you just wait 24 hours, you'll have conditions on your side. You'll be glad that you didn't give in. You'll be glad that you didn't panic. So if your kid is asking you for money, hold off on that. Don't give in. Right? Today is kind of a bit of a test, but I'll tell you where we get the real payout or payoff for delaying that either gratification or what I would call overindulgent emotion is that really tight sextile. The moon and Saturn, in terms of their relationship, are in opposition with one another. They represent two very different things. Saturn is control and order and discipline and structure, things we don't like to do. It's the father. The moon represents our emotions and our ability to feel and emote and express our emotions. It's the mother, and they perform very different functions. But here today, they are in concert with one another. 0 to 0. So Saturn is actually in support of this more austere and disciplined and dispassionate Capricorn moon. And it's interesting because we think of the moon as, again, the body of emotion. And in Capricorn, there's limits, right? It limits things. And with Saturn, in Pisces, we think of Pisces, of course, as being very emotional, very deep, and Saturn is limiting that. So there is a connection between how we channel our emotions and how we stand in our authority. This is a big part of today. So keep that in mind. By tomorrow, the energy shifts a bit. The moon goes into this nice sextile with Mercury, Sun, Neptune. If you hold off, you'll get what you want. Today's kind of a test. Today's a test and compromise. So if you hold off, you'll get what you want. And need, for that matter. You can get both. They're not, in this regard, they're not mutually exclusive. Now here we go. We've got the Mars-Neptune square exact, which is what I've been talking about over the last week or so, just tracking the progress of Mars. Mars being in the final decan, which puts it in the Aquarian decan. And boy, this energy is crazy. See, it's squaring the sun as well. And Mercury's coming in, and tomorrow and Wednesday, so tomorrow, Friday, the sun and Mercury being so by the time we hit Friday, the sun and Mercury are all going to collide in this triple conjunction with Neptune. Now, remember last Friday, we talked about it last Friday. I said, look at news that's going to be dumped on Friday. And we talked about the money markets. We talked about real estate, and boom, what happened? Silicon Valley Bank and SBNY, but it was mostly Silicon Valley Bank. That happened on Friday. This Friday is it's lining up to be an absolute doozy in terms of a news dump. There's also a pretty high, I think there's a pretty high percentage of disaster energy on Friday. And I would look at California and I would look at all the rain and the quote unquote snow that's been in California. I mean, you can see where, this abundance of Pisces could really manifest meteorologically with a lot of rain. And I think we might see some of the impact of that rain and the excessive amounts of water in California come Thursday and Friday. So you Californians, keep your head on a swivel. We still have the Mars-Saturn square, which is really good for getting things done. Mars approach through the Aquarian decan makes it a little kooky, a little crazy, right? But I think it's really good because if you have a good idea and you're either looking for support for that idea or just trusting your own instincts and ability to make things happen, but to manifest it and express it in a different direction, this period of Mars is pretty good. It's only going to get better, right? It's only going to get better. So we still have this opposition with the moon and Mars, but it's much different than it was yesterday. And by the time we get into the latter part of the day, the moon is going to move outside of that oppositional energy. So today, there's also a bit of annoyance, right, with the moon in Capricorn opposing Mars. It's just annoying. You're trying to figure out, why you're the adult in the room, why you have to deal with all these spoiled, sniveling children over here. Anyway, Pluto and Venus, right? So we have Venus at 28 Aries, Pluto at 29 Capricorn. That's tension. Tomorrow there's even more tension. And Venus and Pluto squares are, they're erotic, but they take you down a rabbit hole, right? They take you down a psychosexual rabbit hole. So there's some very intense erotic energy in the air tomorrow. But a lot of times when you also get into the Venus-Pluto square, you're really into the realm of the taboo. And some of the taboo is starting to be exposed again. South Node Scorpio. I'm going to talk more about that today on 15 Minutes of Flame. We got a game plan today over there. So this is a very interesting day. And if you can just wait for the second donut, you're going to be fine. You know what I mean by that? Do you know about Daniel Goleman and emotional IQ and the two donut test that he performed on kids in Stanford? In case you don't know it, the experiment goes like this. Daniel Goleman, who's a behavioral psychologist who taught at Stanford, had an experiment where he got these kids in a room, and they videotaped everything, of course. And he would walk in and he would sit down and tell a kid, hey, look, here's a donut. If you wait till I come back, you'll get 2 donuts, but you can't eat this one. So what he would do is he would wait. He would make him wait. He'd make him wait sometimes 20 minutes. Right. So he was testing who could hold off. Now, I think that's kind of a challenging test. I mean, maybe part of the test was, or part of the parameters was, well, you can't eat before you come. Maybe everybody had to be equally hungry, so there'd be no variables in there. But if you had eaten, you may hold off for that second donut. Anyway, and I never really thought about it, but he was testing their emotional IQ. And some kids couldn't help themselves. They just eat that one donut, they'd be happy, right? Other kids would wait, and then they get the second donut. Now I got 2 donuts. And then what he did is he tested them over. He didn't test them. He tracked them over time, and he tracked their life choices. And the one donut kids tended to be less successful than the two donut kids. And the two donut kids were able to demonstrate what he called emotional IQ by delaying gratification as a practice or as a lifestyle. They were more successful. Very Saturnian. Am I right? That's a very Saturnian kind of experiment. I would have been a one donut kid. I ain't lying. Okay, star of the day, a little bit different, but I think you'll enjoy it. Kind of caught me by surprise because I wasn't planning on going here, but you can. I like to use the star of the day as kind of a teaching tool too, right? If the person is interesting, and the astrology is there, but you kind of have to work for it a little bit to flesh it out. And we only have so much time. It's not always a good candidate. But today's star of the day is Three's Company. Remember Three's Company? All right. So the premise of the show is that Jack in the middle there is living with these two. And Norman Fell, who is the Saturnian landlord, right? Saturn, he won't allow Jack to live there unless he knows that Jack is queer. It's the weirdest fucking premise for a show. Okay. Like, because he's queer, he can live there. So Jack, who plays a chef, and of course, we all know that chefs are all queer. He has to pretend he's queer, right? So this is the joke. So he's with these two hot, young, vibrant, sexy women that he shares a place with. But anytime Norman Fell or anybody else comes over who, might like kick his ass out, he has to pretend he's queer. That's the premise of the show. So full disclosure, my aunt grew up with Suzanne Summers, and they used to get drunk together. And back in the day, she was known as Suzanne Mahoney. So let's look at the chart. Now, it airs at 9:30 p.m., which means on the West Coast, it's going to be 7:30 p.m., but 9:30 p.m., or is it 6:30 p.m. On the West Coast? 9:30 p.m., they're beaming it out at 6:30 p.m., 9:30 p.m. This is where when it airs. March 15th, 1977. Looks like it's coming in as a replacement. And then they pick it up as a full-time show. So the thing that really strikes me about this chart, and again, here we go, astrology makes strange sense. The moon is in Aquarius in the 4th house, which means that their living situation is going to be what? Weird. And it is weird. It's a weird living situation. The guy's got to pretend, the male, Mars, has to pretend that he's queer. It's kind of nuts, right? But it's there. I mean, you can see it. And Aquarius is just going to be different. He's a different kind of guy. Jack's a different kind of guy, right? And then you have the landlord, played by Norman Fell, who's Saturn. You're right at the top of the chart, bearing down on this unusual living situation. And of course, in the House of Secrets, or one of the House of Secrets, the 12th house, there's the true node in Libra. And really, in a lot of ways, it's the secret sauce of the show, right? Like, it's all about relationship and this kind of strange erotic tension, because does he ever really kiss or hang out or do anything you know, below the sheets, beneath the sheets with these two. No, that never happens. But you could tell like there's this erotic tension in the show, and it's kind of built into the show because Jack has to pretend he's queer, right? So we have Pluto ingressing into the 12th house, and it's all about the secret, right? The secret of relating, the secret of relationship. But then over here, this is funny too. We have the South Node conjuncting Venus, and Venus is in Aries, and it's in hot Aries. But the inability to consummate any of it, right? So this is kind of a crazy show. And Uranus is on the ascendant, and it's one of those shows that, you know, ABC is doing around this time that are starting to kind of, you know, move the needle with traditional morality in Middle America. Later on, they would, not long after this, they would come up with Soap, which would feature the first gay character on TV, which of course was played by Billy Crystal. So they're warming up here. They're warming people up with a guy who's pretending to be gay. He's only pretending to be gay. So Uranus is a different approach. And the thing about Three's Company from a entertainment entity is that this trinity is very short-lived, right? I think they're together for what, 2 seasons? And then Suzanne Summers is, you know, a star. I mean, she was a star. You know, she was cute, dumb, blonde, sexy, right? And she decides that she's going to go out and be a star. And she was never as big as she was on Three's Company. And she's had some interesting success with other things in her life, some products. She married this Canadian dude who was the spokesperson for Alpha Beta. But, you know, Uranus is like the thunderclap, and it happens fast, but then it ends fast too. So we, you know, even here, the tension between Uranus and the Moon and Saturn, it doesn't bode well for the cast of the show. Like, they're going to break up, and it's going to be Suzanne Summers who's going to do that, right? Even with Venus, you know, hot Venus, South Node, 6th house, there's going to be issues with the working conditions, and ultimately her peeling off, right? So it's kind of a fun chart, but you can see the show inside the chart. It's all there. It's all there. God, it's just so tame now in comparison to what's going on in our world, isn't it? All right, running a little bit behind, a little bit late, but thanks for being here. I appreciate your joining me on this day, and I'm wishing everybody a great day. And as you know, I have a show, which I have to get ready for, since it's behind the 8 ball again. 15 Minutes of Flame, 9:11 a.m. Central Standard Time. That's over on my website. You can see it right there, 15minutesovflame.com. And don't forget our sponsor, truehempscience.com. That's truehempscience.com. Go there, check out their products. You'll love their products. I just had some of the good old 19. Right there. I had some of that this morning. And if you order $100 worth of product, type in 15MINS and you get free product, goodies on top of goodies, and $150 more get you free shipping. Thank you for being here. I promise I'll be on time tomorrow. I promise. You have my word. And I'm good with my word. I'm good with my word. Without your word, what are you? You're nothing. Absolutely nothing. All right. Take good care. Have a great day. And my final comments, wait for the second donut.